Picture this. It's late at night, and you're sitting at home, maybe scrolling through your phone or preparing to sleep. Suddenly, the ground shakes. You hear a distant explosion, louder than anything you've ever heard in your life. Within seconds, a blinding flash lights up the sky. Your windows rattle, alarms start blaring in the distance, and a deep, terrifying thought enters your mind. This is a nuclear strike. Most of us think something like this could never happen in our lifetime. But the truth is, with rising global tensions, the risk of a nuclear incident is far more real than we want to admit. And here is the most important thing. The difference between surviving and not surviving depends on what you do in the very first moments and in the hours that follow. Tonight, I want you to imagine that scenario with me. What would you do? Where would you run? Who would you call? What steps would you take to make sure you and your loved ones survive the unimaginable? In this video, I am going to take you through 5 absolutely critical actions that could mean the difference between life and death if a nuclear strike were to happen right now. These aren't based on movies or myths. These are real, scientifically backed survival strategies used by governments, militaries, and disaster experts around the world. So listen carefully, because this information is not just fascinating, it's potentially life-saving at the very. First thing we need to understand is what happens in the very first seconds after a nuclear blast. Those moments are pure chaos, but if you know what to do, you can drastically improve your chances of survival. The first thing to understand is what actually happens in the first seconds after a nuclear strike. When a bomb detonates, the initial flash of light and heat is so intense that it can burn skin, blind eyes, and ignite fires within miles. Right after that, a powerful shockwave travels outward, shattering windows, knocking down buildings, and throwing people into the air. If you are close to the center of the blast, survival chances are very slim. That's the harsh truth. But if you are outside the immediate zone, your actions in those very first seconds can make all the difference. The very first step is simple but crucial. Drop to the ground and cover yourself. Many people's first instinct is to run to the window to see what happened. But that mistake can cost lives. The blast wave moves faster than sound. So by the time you hear the explosion, the shock wave is already approaching. Standing near glass or open areas can result in fatal injuries. So the correct action is to drop flat on the ground, cover your head, and protect your body. If you are indoors, move away from windows immediately and get down. If you're outside, drop to the ground, face down, and cover the back of your head with your arms. This position can shield you from flying debris, shattering glass, and the powerful pressure wave. The second part of this first step is do not look at the flash. That blinding light is not just bright. It can cause temporary or even permanent blindness if you stare at it directly. Even if you are miles away, the light can burn your retinas. So, as soon as you sense that flash, close your eyes, turn away, and protect your vision. Remember this, the first 10 seconds are about pure survival. Don't run, don't panic, don't look out. Just get down, protect yourself, and wait for the initial blast wave to pass. Those who take cover have a much higher chance of making it through the first deadly moment of a nuclear strike. Once the shock wave has passed, the danger is not over. In fact, the most deadly threat is just beginning: radiation. A nuclear explosion releases invisible radioactive particles that spread through the air like poison dust. Breathing them in or letting them settle on your skin can be fatal. That's why the second step to survival is all about finding shelter, and finding it fast. If you are outdoors, do not waste time trying to run far away from the blast site. Many people make this mistake. thinking distance alone will save them. But radiation spreads quickly through the air, and within minutes, fallout particles begin raining down like deadly ash. The safest option is to get indoors, into the nearest solid building you can find. But not all shelters are equal. A simple wooden hut or a car is not enough protection. What you need is dense material between you and the outside. Concrete walls, brick structures, underground basements. These are your best shields. The more layers of dense material around you, the less radiation can penetrate. Here's a rule survival experts use, the rule of time. Distance and shielding. Time. The longer you wait before going outside again, the better. Radiation levels drop quickly in the first 24 hours. Distance. The farther you are from the radioactive dust, the safer you are. Shielding. The thicker the barrier between you and the fallout, the higher your survival chances. So if you're at home and your house has a basement, go there immediately. If you're in a city, find a large concrete building, preferably with multiple floors, and move to the center or underground levels. Stay away from windows, doors, or outer walls. Now, here is a critical detail. If you are outside during the blast and dust has settled on you, do not carry that contamination into your shelter. Before entering, brush off your clothes, remove outer layers if possible, and wash your exposed skin with clean water. Fallout particles can cling to hair, clothes, and skin, continuing to expose you. Even something as simple as shaking off your jacket before stepping inside can make a huge difference. Once inside, you must prepare to stay there for at least 24 to 48 hours, ideally longer. Going outside too soon could expose you to lethal radiation, so the shelter you choose must not only protect you physically, but also give you a safe space to wait until levels decrease. Now you've made it into a shelter. The next 60 minutes are some of the most critical of your life. Many people think once they're indoors, they're safe. But survival is not just about hiding. It is about acting smartly and preparing for the hours and days ahead. The very first thing you need to do inside is seal your environment. Fallout particles can enter through windows, doors, vents, or even small cracks. If you have duct tape, plastic sheets, or even thick cloth, use them to cover openings. Close all windows and doors tightly. Shut off fans, AC units, or anything that pulls air from outside. Remember, every bit of outside dust that comes in can contaminate your safe space. The next action is to take care of your body. If you were exposed outside, wash immediately. Use soap and water to clean skin and hair, but avoid scrubbing too harshly, as that can push radioactive particles deeper into pores. Do not use conditioner on your hair. It can bind radioactive dust to your strands, making it harder to remove. Place contaminated clothes in a sealed bag and keep them far from your living area. Once you're settled, the next priority is communication and information. In the chaos of a nuclear strike, rumors spread faster than truth. Do not rely on random phone messages or social media for instructions, if power and networks still work. Tune into official radio broadcasts, emergency alert systems, or government channels. A small battery-powered or hand-crank radio can be a literal lifesaver in these situations. Authorities will provide updates on fallout patterns, safe zones, and evacuation plans. Now comes another challenge: psychological control. The human mind under extreme stress often makes dangerous choices. People feel trapped, suffocated, or panicked and rush outside too soon. This mistake is often fatal. The first hour is when fear will push you hardest to act irrationally. You must remind yourself, every extra minute you stay inside is dramatically lowering your exposure to radiation. Fallout loses about half its strength every 7 hours, and after 48 hours, it drops to a small fraction of its original level. The last part of this first hour is ration planning. You don't know how long you will need to stay indoors, so do a quick but calm check of your supplies. Drinking water, dry food, a flashlight, batteries, first aid kits. These become your most valuable resources, even if you only have a few bottles of water and some canned food. Resist the urge to consume them quickly. The strategy is simple. Plan as if you may not leave for at least 2 to 3 days. Stretch what you have. Survival is not about comfort. It's about endurance. If you've completed these actions in the first hour, sealing your space, decontaminating, finding information, controlling your emotions, and rationing supplies, then you've already outlived many of the initial dangers. But the true test of survival comes in the hours that follow. When fallout continues to spread, panic rises and uncertainty grows. The first 24 hours after a nuclear strike are the most dangerous. This is the period when radiation levels are at their highest, fallout is thick in the air, and panic outside is at its peak. If you can stay protected, calm, and resourceful during this time, your survival chances rise sharply. Inside your shelter, the biggest priorities are food, water, safety, and mental strength. Let's start with water. A human body can survive weeks without food, but only a few days without water. That's why whatever clean water you have must be guarded like treasure. If you fill bottles, buckets, or sinks before sealing your shelter, those supplies are now your lifeline. Avoid drinking from taps after the blast, because local water systems may already be contaminated by fallout. If you absolutely must use outside water, it should be filtered, boiled, and stored in a covered container, but only if it's your last resort. Food comes next. In the first 24 hours, your energy needs are actually lower because you're not moving much. That means you can eat less and still survive. Canned foods, sealed packets, dried items, anything that's been stored properly, are safe to consume. Do not eat food that was left uncovered outside after the blast, because fallout dust may have settled on it. A small meal every 6 to 8 hours is enough to maintain your strength and keep your mind steady. Now, safety inside the shelter. Even though you're indoors, accidents can still happen. People can injure themselves in the dark, knock over supplies, or create unnecessary hazards. Keep your living space organized. Designate one corner for waste, another for food and water, and a clean area for resting. This separation not only keeps hygiene under control, but also gives your mind a sense of structure in chaos. Communication is still critical in this 24-hour window. Keep checking for official updates if you have a working radio or network. Governments often release fallout maps showing which areas are most contaminated and when it may be safe to evacuate. If your shelter has no radio, set a routine. For example, once every few hours, check your phone briefly for signals, then turn it off again to save battery. But the hardest challenge in these 24 hours is mental survival, fear of the unknown, the sound of distant chaos, the feeling of being trapped. These can break even the strongest people. That's why it's important to keep your mind busy and your spirit focused. If you're with family, talk to them, reassure them, and keep everyone calm. If you're alone, focus on small tasks, organizing supplies, making notes of time, or even just breathing exercises. Survival is not just about the body. It's about keeping your willpower alive. Here is the golden rule of the first 24 hours. Do not step outside unless your shelter is collapsing or on fire. No matter how strong the urge, no matter what you see or hear, Remember that every hour you remain indoors, radiation outside is weakening. That patience, that discipline is what will keep you alive. Now you've survived the first 24 hours. That alone means you've beaten the deadliest phase of full-out radiation. But the danger is far from over. The next 48 to 72 hours will test your patience, your planning, and your ability to make the right decisions under pressure. First, let's talk about radiation levels. Scientists use something called the 7-10 rule. It means every 7 hours, radiation drops to 1/10 of its previous level. After about 48 hours, the intensity has already reduced to a fraction of what it was in the beginning. But here's the catch. Even reduced levels can still be dangerous if you expose yourself too soon. That's why the golden rule continues. Stay inside your shelter as long as possible, ideally for a full 3 days before stepping out. During this period, rationing becomes more strategic. By now, you've adjusted to eating smaller meals, and your body is conserving energy. Continue this discipline. If you have multiple people in your shelter, assign strict portions. Water remains the top priority. Monitor how much is left every 12 hours and adjust accordingly. Remember, dehydration kills faster than hunger. Now let's consider health and hygiene. 3 days without proper sanitation can turn a safe shelter into a breeding ground for a sickness. Choose one designated spot as a waste corner if you have plastic bags, buckets, or containers. Use them. Keep waste sealed and far from your food and water. Wash your hands whenever possible, even if only with a small splash of clean water. Sickness in a confined space can spread quickly, and medical help is not available. Next comes information and signals by the second or third day. Some emergency broadcasts may announce safe zones, relief camps, or evacuation corridors. If you have a radio, listen carefully. If authorities announce it's safe to evacuate, prepare before moving. Pack only essentials: water, food, first aid, flashlight, radio, and a covering for your face and body to reduce full-out exposure. Move quickly. Avoid touching surfaces. Do not eat or drink anything exposed outdoors. But if no official evacuation is announced, you must decide: stay longer or risk going out. The safer choice is usually to wait. After 72 hours, radiation is much lower, and survival outside becomes more realistic. If supplies are dangerously low, or if your shelter is damaged, then you may have no choice but to step out. But if you do, follow strict precautions. Cover as much of your skin as possible. Use cloth or mask over your nose and mouth, and avoid dust at all costs. Perhaps the hardest part of this stage is mental endurance. After 3 days in darkness and fear, people begin to lose hope. Loneliness, hunger, or even silence can break the spirit. That's why you must remind yourself, every hour you stay disciplined, your chances of survival rise. The outside world is slowly stabilizing. Rescue teams may already be moving. Fallout is weakening, and humanity has a long history of recovering from disasters. The next 72 hours are not about panic. They're about patience. They're about discipline. And they're about hope. After 3 days, if you are still alive and in your shelter, you've already survived the deadliest stage of a nuclear strike. But survival doesn't end here. Now begins the challenge of long-term endurance. How to live in a world that may be damaged, unstable, and unsafe. The first step after 72 hours is to carefully assess your environment. Before you even think about leaving, check for official updates. If radios are silent and no signals are coming through, you'll have to rely on your senses. Look outside through a small opening. Do not step out fully yet. Is the sky clearer? Are there signs of rescue teams, vehicles, Or announcements. Do you see ash or dust still falling from the sky? These small details tell you whether it is safer to wait longer or begin planning your next move. If you must step outside, do it cautiously. Cover your entire body with layers of clothing. Use masks, scarves, or even wet cloths to cover your nose and mouth. Remember, fallout dust may still be present on surfaces, soil, and rooftops. Avoid touching or disturbing it. Stick to hard, paved paths instead of walking through grass or soil, which may hold more radioactive particles. The second challenge is finding clean resources. By now, your water and food supplies may be running dangerously low. Do not drink directly from rivers, lakes, or ponds. Fallout particles settle on open water surfaces. Instead, look for sealed bottles, underground storage, or water that has been covered since before the blast. If you must use questionable water, filter it through cloth, let it settle, and boil it if you have the means. For food, canned goods and sealed packages are safest. Crops, fruits, and animals exposed outdoors may not be safe to eat immediately. The third part of long-term survival is rescue and community. After a nuclear strike, governments and international agencies mobilize quickly to search for survivors. This is when you should try to make yourself visible without taking unnecessary risks. If you hear helicopters, vehicles, or sea lights at night, try signaling using a flashlight, a bright cloth, or even simple noise. But be smart. Don't you wander far from your shelter unless certain rescue teams are active in your area. Then comes mental recovery. Living in isolation, fear, and hunger for days can break down even the strongest people. But you must hold on to one truth. Survival is not only for yourself. It is for the people who may be looking for you. For the life you can rebuild after this nightmare. And for the chance to help others who may not be as prepared as you. If you're with family, lean on each other. If you're alone, remind yourself constantly that every step you've taken so far has already saved you from what most people could not endure. Finally, long-term survival after a nuclear strike is about adapting to the new reality. The world outside may not look the same. Cities may be damaged, systems broken, daily life disrupted. But humans are resilient. History shows that even after Hiroshima and Nagasaki, life returned, cities rebuilt, and generations thrived. Your task is simple. Survive long enough to see that rebuilding happen, and play your part in it. So after 3 days, focus on cautious movement, safe resources, connection with rescues, and the willpower to endure. Because survival is not just about avoiding death. It's about living for tomorrow. Now that we've walked through the first seconds, the first minutes, the first day, and even the first few days after a nuclear strike, let us put it all together into a simple survival checklist. Something you can remember even in chaos. Number 1. The flash and blast. The moment you see a blinding flash, drop to the ground. Cover your head and do not look at the light. Stay down until the shockwave passes. Number 2. Immediate shelter. Within minutes, fallout begins. Get indoors as fast as possible. Prefer thick concrete, basements, or large buildings. The more walls between you and the outside, the better. Number 3. Decontamination. If you are outside, remove outer clothing. Wash your skin and hair, and seal contaminated clothes away. Do not bring fallout particles inside with you. Number 4. Seal and wait. Close doors, windows, and vents. Shut down fans or AC. Stay indoors for at least 24 to 48 hours, ideally longer. Every hour you wait lowers your radiation risk. Number 5. Food, water, and calm. Use sealed food and water. Ration supplies. Stay organized, keep hygiene under control, and protect your mental strength. Remember, survival is a test of patience as much as preparation. Number 6. Information and rescue. Rely on official broadcasts. Listen for evacuation orders. Signal for help only when it is safe. Do not wander into unknown areas too soon. And finally, hope and endurance, the night metaphor. Nuclear strike is terrifying, but it is survivable. The difference is knowledge, discipline, and the will to endure. Humanity has come back from destruction before, and it will again, if you survive those first few days. You give yourself the chance not only to live, but to rebuild, to reunite with loved ones, and to prove that even in the darkest times, the human spirit cannot be destroyed. So, if you take away only one thing from this entire guide, let it be this: survival is not luck. Survival is preparation, action, and patience in the face of the unthinkable. These 5 steps: protect, shelter, decontaminate, wait, and endure could mean the difference between life and death. Stay strong, stay ready, and remember, no matter how dark the night, there is always a dawn waiting to rise.